Chapter -1.1 Visible by Minnow in indigo ink. Ben put his arm around Skye as Six and Jemima came into view. They only remained visible for about 30 seconds, but it was long enough for all of us to see them and to know that we weren't hallucinating. Six's hair was wild from flying, and Jem looked like a lost boy from Peter Pan. "All right," said Dad. "I'm officially confused." Mum gave Skye a tissue. "I can explain," said Skye with a sniff. Mum poured tea. "Only if you want to," she said. Skye wiped her eyes. "I think Ben's right. I have to tell someone who's an adult. Otherwise Isla really will convince people that I'm violent or mad or both." Ben laughed. "Only because you are," he said. Skye smiled at him and then looked at all of us. "I was in a coma," said Skye, "after our dad died." "And I had concussion," said Ben. Mum nodded to show that she cared. Skye continued. "Anyway, while I was unconscious, bits of me sort of splintered away." She stopped, checking to see if anyone thought she was insane, but we were all staring at her with kind eyes. "It's like I have two little ghosts with me all the time, except the ghosts are me at a younger age. No one can see them unless I want them to." "But you saw them yesterday," I added, looking at Blizzard. Blizzard shrugged. "Who knows how," he said. Mum frowned. "Odd," she said. "Some people are sensitive to these things." "The trouble is," said Ben, "the little ones can make themselves visible when they want to, and their judgment isn't that great." "It really isn't," said Skye. "They talk all the time, so Isla thinks it's me talking to myself." Ben sighed. "Plus they need food," he said, "so we have to steal it for them." "Which isn't easy," said Skye. "But your little selves are also wonderful," said Blizzard, sipping his coffee. "Thank you," said Six and Jemima in unison, delighted to be praised. A magpie warbled in the background as if it agreed. "Of course you're both wonderful," said Skye. "It just means that I'm not all together in the same body, so I feel weak all the time, and when you talk out of turn it gets me into trouble." Six and Jem murmured, "Sorry." "They stay with you all day?" asked Dad. "Yes, but they're supposed to be invisible and quiet." "Oh, it must be a worry for you," said Mum. Six and Jemima both started talking at the same time. "But it's safe here. Can we show ourselves again, please?" "Okay," said Skye, "but not for long." Six and Jemima made themselves visible again. They both looked shy, and for once they were lost for words. Mum and Dad smiled at them. So did Blizzard. "Everyone," said Skye, "I'm pleased to introduce Six and Jemima." "Welcome," said Mum. "We'd better get you some breakfast." Jem and Six squealed with delight before giving Mum a curtsy. Mum set up a big plate of fruit and scones in front of the little girls, and they hungrily ate the lot. "An archangel gave us wings," said Jemima, crumbs falling out of her mouth as she flared her wings out wide. "I'm probably the only 4-year-old with wings in the whole wide world." "His name was Gabriel," said Six. "He was huge." "He had 6 wings," said Jemima. Dad's eyes were really wide. I felt a bit sorry for him, although Mum and Blizzard didn't seem to be bothered at all. "You'd better disappear," said Skye. "I don't want to be permanently broken into pieces." Six and Jemima both pouted but dutifully made themselves invisible. "Why do you think this is going to be permanent?" asked Mum. "We have a book about it," said Ben. "It was written by our grandmother, Athena. She splintered too." "I need that book," said Skye. "But after Athena died, all her things went to Aunt Brill's place, and we're not allowed to visit." Mum looked fierce. "We'll get you the book," she said. Dad looked worried. "It must be dreadful to have your principal think that you're losing your mind." "Isla's the one losing her mind," said Ben. "She wanted me to punch a big blow-up monster the other day to release the anger of my grief." Blizzard pulled a face and Dad started to laugh. "You should have asked if you could punch her," said Frank. "Can we?" asked Jem, suddenly visible again. "We could make her think she's mad," said Six, "if she can't see us but she's being punched and pinched all day." Sky rolled her eyes. "Go and burn off some energy," she said. "Do some flying. Invisible flying." "Over the sea?" asked Jem. "As long as you stay invisible." We could hear Six and Jem squealing as they headed off. "Do they like pretending to fly?" asked Mum. "Their wings are beautiful. Where did you get them?" Frank and I gave Mum an awkward look. "They can fly," said Ben. "So can Sky." Mum looked worried. "I don't understand," she said. Sky flared out her wings and made them visible. After that, she floated up onto the roof of the back veranda and hovered there for a moment. Her golden wings shimmered in the morning sunlight and she looked like an angel. Mum and Dad nearly fell off their chairs. Sky flapped her wings and slowly came down again. "When I was in the coma, I really did meet an archangel," she said. "He told me that all of the heavens wanted me to have wings to help me wake up, and Jem and Six are part of me, so they got wings too." Mum nodded, lost for words. "We're terrified the thieves will find out," said Ben. "They'd probably send Sky to a circus to make money for them." Blizzard shook his head. "I don't much like the sound of these thieves." "Haven't you met them?" asked Dad. Only by video. And only by video when I had the job interview." "Well, you might be in for a rough time," said Dad. Mum looked cross. "We need a plan," she said, "and we need to know exactly what the law says." "Definitely," said Dad. "Why don't you lot go and play tag while we put our heads together and figure out what to do?" We all nodded. As we stood up, Frank asked Blizzard, "When you've finished, can we show you the time again game?" "Sure can," said Blizzard. "Computer game?" "The best," said Ben. "Best time waster on earth," said Mum. "Time's really not wasted if you're enjoying yourself," said Blizzard. Frank beamed. He loved Blizzard already. Chapter -1, Blizzard Meets the Time Again Game by Minnow. It wasn't long before Blizzard joined us behind the wishing chair to play tag. "Whoa," he said, "great space." "My design," I said. "The green curtains are for the forest and the blue is for the ocean and also for the sky. I added red for the fire when we have explosions, and the screens on the back of the wishing chair for extra power." "Okay," said Blizzard. "What about the beanies?" We all smiled. "Long story," said Frank. "All right," said Blizzard. "God's mind," said Frank, pointing to his beanie. "I used to think the blue sky looked like a big beanie for God's head." Blizzard laughed. "Better give me the full explanation later." Frank grinned. "No worries." "So, this is the time again game?" asked Blizzard. "Yep," said Frank. "Min and I did all the programming, and when we first started it was called Underworld, but someone had taken that name online, so we made it Thunderland, but then that was taken too, so it became the time game, and finally the time again game," I said, "or tag." "But when the game was still Underworld," said Frank, "we added in Orpheus because of the old myth about Orpheus and the underworld." "Orpheus can charm things," I said, "with songs." "Even stones," added Blizzard. "I'm impressed you know," I said. Blizzard smiled. "Maybe we could get Orpheus to charm Isla's diseased heart," said Sky. "Her diseased heart?" asked Blizzard. I blushed. "I keep having this dream. Well, it's a nightmare really, about a creepy heart. It's Isla's heart, so we put it into the game. We think our school motto's way too fake," said Frank. "A heart for every child." Blizzard pulled a face. "What? Were some of the children born without a heart?" Sky groaned. "Isla probably stole them, more likely." I nodded. "In my nightmare, the heart bit off a boy's feet." A heart with teeth? Asked Blizzard. Gruesome. Yes, it told me that my heart would become evil and bite off my own feet. Blizzard looked serious. Biting off feet can be symbolic of not being able to go anywhere, said Blizzard. Or having your soul stolen. Your soul? I asked. The sole of your foot can represent your heart, said Blizzard. The heart might be after the boy's soul and not his feet. Gross, said Sky. Well, I don't want my heart going rogue, I said. It won't, said Blizzard. I don't think you have enough cruelty in you to make an evil toenail, let alone an evil heart. I hope not, I said. In my dream, the evil heart bit off a girl's hands as well. Blizzard looked interested. Hands are symbolic of making things. Without them, a person can't create anything. Just to be safe, I said, we put Isla's revolting heart into the game and locked it up. How? Asked Blizzard. Well, we had to draw it first, I said, and then we added a chain and a key. We also gave it a mouth guard because it keeps trying to bite our characters. We thought if we conquered it in the game, we might conquer it in the real world. Simple, said Blizzard with a smile. I wish it was, said Frank. We all sighed. Did you and my parents figure out how to help Sky and Ben? I asked. Blizzard nodded. Your mum's making a few calls. Then we'll talk over lunch. Where are Six and Jem? Asked Sky. Baking cookies, said Blizzard, with Ethan. Eating all the cookie mixture more likely, said Sky. Then she breathed a huge sigh of relief and said, Thank you for helping us. Blizzard smiled. No worries, he said. Now where's this terrible heart? I'll show you, said Frank, tapping his game controller. The Frankster was running through the underground tunnels between the church and the museum. Frank moved him deeper and deeper until he found the dungeon that held the filthy heart. As the Frankster lifted up the trapdoor, we could hear creaking noises as the heart heaved in and out. There was also a scraping sound as the heart ground its teeth. The chain's a bit tight, said Blizzard. Has to be, said Frank. The heart keeps escaping. Disgusting, said Sky. Some Desgul appeared on the screen and attacked Frank's character. What are they? Asked Blizzard. Desgul, said Frank. We based them on filthy, but don't worry, the Frankster knows how to fight them off. They started off as minotaurs, I said, but we modified them. Based on the Overlord. He's the chief thug at our school, said Frank. Thugs, said Blizzard. Who needs them? No one, said Ben, but there are plenty at Lowood. Isla rewards them, said Sky. Sounds like the Baroness and I will have to have a talk, said Blizzard, because if there's one thing I cannot stand, it's thugs who think they rule the world. Blizzard frowned. What do these Desgul do? They carry the time virus, I said, but we haven't finished the programming yet. Sounds complicated, said Blizzard. Can be, said Frank. The time virus sends a character's life off track, but you can get power back by playing the main pinball machine. It's called the time game, I said. It has a huge maze inside it, and when you score points, it undoes the harm caused by the time virus, and it can also give you rewards to help improve your character's life. I'm getting good at pinball, said Ben. Since yesterday, my character's moved from being a scarecrow to becoming a magician. Excellent, said Blizzard. I know, said Ben.